Turner Season 3, where we bring industry thought leaders to the forefront of conversation shaping the textiles and apparel sector. Today, it is my absolute privilege to have with us Mr. Sareen. Mr. Ram Sareen, the CEO and founder of TUKATech, TUKAWeb, and Centers, and also chairman of Skyku, if I'm not messing that up. With decades of expertise in revolutionizing fashion technology, Mr. Sareen has been at the helm of groundbreaking advancements in CAD engineering, virtual fashion design, and on-demand manufacturing. Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss the pivotal role of digitalization and automation in the future of our industry.
Wonderful question. Something that is pretty close to my heart. I very strongly believe that as the generation moves from one to the other, we get deeper and deeper into technology and digitalization. It is not a wow factor. It is a so it is factor. When kids are growing up, I call them the Google generation. I feel that most of us in my generation and generation after me misunderstand, misread the new generation. So I feel that the generation that we're dealing with today is the most brilliant. Brilliant. I'm not saying this because you're sitting there from that generation. They are more informed, very feisty, so to speak, very restless. They don't have the patience the way we did it. They want to get to that point, whatever it is. Whatever instant we can get, they're in it. So, we grew up with print media, and then it became a television media, and then all of a sudden, nobody really realized that there isn't an editor writing a story or a writer writing a story and presenting it to the editor. Today is the Instagram. Today is the X. Today it is the whatever communication tools, which is short, to the point, get to that. And that's exactly we need to look at how do we capture their attention and get them to do something productive. So digitalization or digital technology plays a major role. I feel that the generation that we have had, present generation, running the apparel industry, fashion industry, will suffer a lot. It'll be a major blow to a lot of them when their children and grandchildren come in to the industry, because these are family-owned businesses. It's a very common thing for a next generation to come in. We've seen that many decades. It's been happening in the United States. It's been happening in Canada and Europe. The family started, somebody started, grandfather, then the father, then the son. It's not something that I am just making up. It's not something that startups can even imagine. But one thing is for sure, that startups will kick everybody out for a simple reason. There is no grandfather or father to stop the person and say, don't do it this way, don't take the risk. The younger generation, out of frustration, will either leave the family business and start their own, or will fire most of the father's employees and start their own. I've seen it 100 times in various cities, various countries, where the 21-year-old, 25-year-old coming into the business, and if he's going to do the business, he says, all right, Dad, you made money for 30 years. If I'm going to make 30 years in this business, I'm going to do it my way. Does the digital technology play the role? Absolutely. It's not something that we are going to reduce the number of people. No, the business is changing. You said, where are the opportunities? 2012 showed a proof of concept with one of the universities, a research university that we work with for the last 30 years. And we were showing how the apparel business will be direct to consumer. be made to order, not made to measure,
Mhm.
made to
Not
order,
too odd.
meaning I will design digitally, I will fit, I will show digitally, I will sell digitally, and then I will make what I've sold. Just
Mhm.
reversing the process. So if you go to
Right.
my Tuka Talks or Tuka Tech on YouTube, you'll see hundreds of videos over there.
Mhm.
For the last 10 years, we've been showing what a microfactory looks like. In 2018, I was in a conference in Bangladesh, and that was the only conference where I was really booed. I mean, literally booed. And then they come back in 2022 and said they would want me to come back as a keynote speaker again. I told them to just buzz off. They said, no, you were right. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm a data person. Garment industry or any trends don't happen overnight. If somebody is watching and putting two and two together and can kind of foresee where it's going. Um, in 2018, we wrote why I was, and it's documented, there's speeches on the internet. I mentioned that we will not be producing as many garments as we are producing today. In
Right.
5 years, we'll be producing 40% less garments. Of
Which
course, was not something that the industry wanted to hear, not in Bangladesh, because they wanted to see a growth. And I'm seeing that it has reached a stage where it is been spilling over.
right.
Um, Look what's happened in the 5 years. We are producing 40% less garments.
Yes.
We're doing things in 2020. We mentioned the next revolution will come from manufacturing. Manufacturing. What does that mean? Means India will make for India. America will make for America. Canada will make for Canada. Why? Because we're running right now the business the way we have been running, or at least before the lockdown. We had a million-mile long supply chain. Buttons come from someplace. This is coming from someplace. Trim is coming from. Why? If you're a cook and you've got ingredients coming from wherever and you don't match one ingredient, that food is not going to taste right. So what is the trick? Cook what you grow.
Right.
What's in the season? That's what life was before the globalization. And this is exactly what's happening. We made abundance of products. We made 130 billion, garments for 7 billion people on the planet. 75 billion garments went into the stores. Balance of them didn't even make it to the store. They went straight to landfills. Now, that cannot sustain. That cannot go on and on and on. Therefore, they had to stop. So, the next question was sustainability. Sustainability is overused word. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to a person who's running a factory? What does it mean to a buyer? What does it mean to a consumer? So when you start talking about sustainability, we can't just generalize the term sustainability. I want
Right.
to sustain my business.
Fair. We all do.
I don't care, right? So we see in America that we are polluting, we are doing certain things and so on. But the guy says, well, okay, but it's affecting my business. So I'm
Right.
going to keep on doing this. These are the little things when certain times the governments get involved and all that. But I think more than that, we just need to make the consumer aware. And the consumer is the final word for everything.
Right.
If the consumer says, I want this, I want it made here. I want to know who made my garment. Where was
Mhm.
it made? What is in there? Is it organic? All the things that we used to live with. I remember, you're from India, so I'm going to share an Indian story, okay? I was in India and I love cooking. Um, I have a very nice farm in India, in Delhi, and we grow a lot of things. But in the same time, there's not everything is growing in my farm. So I
Right.
needed to get certain things, and one of those things were tomatoes.
Mhm.
I was at the store, not a store, but a side stall in Gurgaon,
Right.
where the guy was selling the produce which has been local.
Mm-hmm.
And the tomatoes were some was like this, some was like that, some was different, and they had all kinds of shapes. Those
Right.
are we call them heirloom tomatoes. They
Mm-hmm.
are sold twice the money in America than the mustard or cultured tomatoes.
Right.
And while I'm taking these, and there's a woman comes in a small Mercedes,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "भैया, वो आपके पास वो राउंड राउंड गोल गोल लाल वाले टमाटर नहीं है क्या?" And I'm going, this generation doesn't understand the food values. They are growing up with the Western values. Okay, it looks good, must be the taste right. Okay, sustainability has to start with consumer. Consumer must push. I'm not buying it if it is done this. And believe it or not, today there is such a sentiment going on in the garment industry. It's called ABC. You know what ABC stands for? But China.
Oh, right. Yes, we. Yes.
That is, I do podcast. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
About 5 years ago, I did a podcast that was we built, how we built China. Americans, I'm talking.
Okay.
I was born in India, but I am an American. I'm a Canadian. My Karam Bhumi is this, my Janam Bhumi is that. But I look at from the perspective, China was doing something where nobody knew what the real cost is. So everything is state subsidized. I
Right.
know that for a fact. When they were doing the garments, I'm an engineer by profession. We would sit down and talk about it, do the costing on the product. How can they sell this for $3 when we know the consumption and the cost of material surpasses that? Well, they were training their people. They needed something to train with. So over 90% seconds, throw them away, but 10% came out. But the second day, the operators learned something more and something more. So they trained their workforce by killing the competitive countries, by making junk and putting it in the garbage. But once they got the whole thing going, they started getting the return on their money.
Right.
But then they realized, hey, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This industry is twofold: fabric, garments. Fabric mill can be automated, requires maybe 3% people than a factory. If that's the case, what is the return of those people? 3% people give me 60 to 65% value of the whole garment. That's a fabric. Let
Mm-hmm.
me put my money in there and let the schmucks or stupid people or poor countries make the garments, but the fabric will be mine. But I'll sell
Right.
it so cheap that nobody can comply with that. Again, we go back and say, how can you do it? I don't care. I'm an engineer. I have set up more mills than one can imagine. And there is no way that anybody running an independent business, unless my uncle or my auntie or my father or my government is subsidizing so that I can sell it cheap and get my money out. But I'm not going to do that as a businessman. Country is doing it. And finally, the brands are being told that you're not going to buy fabric also because what's the point? This is exploitation.
Right.
That's not playing clear. I don't know. In a country like India, where everything is transparent, I mean, totally transparent to the extent that the Indians who are running the buying houses or their quality controls or the sourcing companies for the brands and retailers are policing the suppliers. Are they paying overtime? Are they working overtime? Are the lights on in this one? They are interviewing people. Why? Because they want to make sure they don't get there, they don't get caught with the pants down and the brand doesn't get a bad name, right? Do that
Right.
in China, yeah. Do it in China. Try. I challenge all sourcing companies, all brands, all retailers, all of them.
Mhm.
Do it.
Why do we say that?
They will show you what they want you to see. I know
Okay.
China. I know China extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Chinese factories. I've seen people sleeping under the machines. I've seen people in the dormitories. I've seen how they do it. It is nonsense. It is not human conditions. None of these factories in all these countries who are working with the apparel industry can even come close to the what is happening in China. But guess what? We have greedy brands, greedy buyers. They close their eyes. Cost is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to those people? They're all going out of business. Look at the number of stores closing this year in America alone. Look at the people. I have only one thing to tell to everybody, whoever is listening to this one. Do not think your job is worth saving more than your employer's job, business saving. Most of these people, they're trying to protect their jobs, holding on, and not adding value to the business, and eventually the businesses go out of business. And that's not right.
Of course. Even today, you say the factory's conditions are same.
No, it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there are certain culprits around the world, okay, but overall, I feel that take an example of a country like Sri Lanka, and I love that country for a very simple reason that none of their compliance companies could even write all the rules and regulations or all the do's and don'ts in the compliance because Sri Lanka was way ahead of them. They were self-compliant.
Right.
And none of these sourcing companies actually survived there for a very simple reason. Hey, if something goes wrong with my product, maybe this guy is the local buyer and local sourcing company and local QC person. Whatever you are paying to this person or this company, whatever happens, at the end of the day, if something is wrong with my product, my production, my delivery, I'm the one who's going to get busted. I'm the one who's going to have to pay. If that's the case, just leave it to me. And so they put their own QC people, they don't put their. I have never seen a country where if they say it'll be ready Friday at 3:45, you can bet your dollar that your truck will be loading at 3:45. India Tobacco Company, Will's senior director told me one time that there's a company called Hydra Money Industries. They were getting some shirts made there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about 20 years ago. And he said, we wanted some rushed job. And so we asked them, this is sorry, it's already in production and it's slated to be out at 3:45. He said, we laughed at it. What are you talking about? They're not saying it's on such and such date or week off or last end of the month. They're saying on that date at 3:45, it will be at the loading dock. So they sent a scout to go along with the truck. Fine, fair enough.
That's
3:45. They started loading the trucks.
On time.
On time, not before, not after. This is a self-disciplined company.
Mm-hmm.
They plan. If you look at, they have a Poya Day, which is every 28 days. This is the Purnima in India. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a holiday.
Okay.
There are certain holidays, New Year holiday, this holiday, that holiday. They never make an excuse to the buyer that we had this holiday or that holiday and this holiday. Why? Because they know that holiday is going to come every year, every month, and so on. They
Right.
plan their production accordingly. And that's where I think the commitment is required for people to be in business with a kind of a little professionalism to make sure. And if you look around in Asia, Sri Lankans are the only companies who are running much bigger numbers than most of the companies. If
Right.
you go around all over Asia, Middle East, Central America, there are more Sri Lankans working in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or in India. Why? They didn't have a university. They learned from the right people, and that's what they are implementing. Yes, discipline is required, and that's sustainability. That will sustain for a long time. People will
Mm-hmm.
come back to Sri Lanka for getting because they know that they can rely on it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other question?
Yes, speaking of sustainability, I was also thinking with advancements in fashion technology, how do we see that digitalization is contributing to sustainability as well, reducing waste and, fostering the circular production model?
So there's a lot of talk about AI,
Mm-hmm.
and if anybody feels that that's not going to affect me or my business, they're fooling themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
here. It is going to be. It may be at the infancy stage, but it's growing at the lightning speed. AI doesn't mean that anyone can use it. You really have to have a RI also, real intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you'll be asking stupid questions and you will get stupid answers because it just works around there. There are certain things that a lot of people are working on, which is getting the trends. What is it? It's a tool. Is finding the entire network databases around the globe, every country, every language, and so on, information and putting it all together in very fast speed. Okay. You ask for, it may give you 7 different times in this country, in that place, in this place, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you may be asking for that. You may have forgotten to ask that question.
Right.
Exactly. So that's the AI part. I want to look at what are the new print designs. Yeah, it will find me print designs where I know that I am not infringing on somebody else's copyrights. These are the public knowledges. I could have found that myself, but AI will help me speed up the entire thing. I want to see what are the silhouettes available, what are the silhouettes being sold, what are the
Mm-hmm.
models wearing. I can put an AI generated models and put the clothing on there. Okay. Again, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and make the garment from that AI. There, mind you, there are a lot of companies who are working on the AI generated patterns, AI generated. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. Because most of the people who write code have no idea how the industry works. It's not writing code, it's knowing what to write in the code. For that, you have to have experience. For that, you have to identify what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and that you solve with the programs. But if
Mm-hmm.
you don't know the insights, I make a silk dress. I make same dress in Georgette, in French chiffon. I make it in tussar silk. I make that in cotton. I make that in knit. I can do all of that all my needles, all my things, everything will change. Even my pattern will change.
Right.
My construction will change. So these are the kind of things where I think the RI will work, the real
Mhm.
intelligence, but a combination of RI and AI used properly, there is no way that anybody can lose that. Except we need to really look at, we got to find a balance rather than either this or that. There's no straight cut in between the two, okay?
Mhm. There's no other way to do things now at the moment, I feel. We
Oh,
have
yes,
to.
yes. No. As I said, look, it's adoption sometimes are slower than what we anticipate.
Mhm.
I certainly anticipated much faster adoption than the industry is adopting. But then all of a sudden, in the last 8 months or 10 months, it has gone like a straight rocket. Okay.
Mhm.
Everybody out there is coming in. I want smart factory. I want demand manufacturing. I want this. There are more factories we are opening on a weekly basis than we did on a yearly basis in America. There are
Right.
more factories we are opening around America,
Mhm.
Mexico, and El Salvador, and Guatemala. These are called nearshoring. Okay. Why are we doing all that? Because everybody wants to buy only what they need. Is it 300 garments? What am I
Mhm.
doing? Minimizing my risk. If
Right.
I minimize my risk, I can sell it for less money,
Mhm.
still make a good margin, and be competitive.
Mhm.
Rather than make a million garments and then not know how to sell it, how to ship it, what to do with the rest of discount that, throw it away, whatever. But I'm then working around the same product, same problem for a very long time.
Mhm.
Those things are gone. There are certain products, certain categories, we will always have that. It's like what we call the diapers.
Right.
There'll always be children born. There'll always
Mhm.
be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 year, whatever the number of, the sizes are concerned. But what am I doing? Is it demand versus replenishment? It's called MRP, materials requirement planning. I
Mhm.
look at it. What is my lead time? From which country? From which place? The cheapest place? What's my lowest landed duty paid cost? And I choose my supplier. Then I look at what my inventory is on a daily basis, what my consumption is, and then I look at what is my lead time to replenish it. So when do I reorder? In the MRP, the order is placed automatically when it reaches that point of sale analysis. Now, those products will continue to be made overseas in the factories where the labor is cheaper. But mind you, those factories will be fiercely competitive with each other because they not only have to worry about the best automated, the best factory, the best quality, the best price, but also the fastest to the final destination. So sometimes I may have a 48 days versus 14 days travel time for the final product. The 14-day may be a little more expensive, but if I have to carry the extra 32 days of inventory, the cost of carrying my inventory becomes a factor, which is the price. Okay. So there are a lot of things which the stores are working on. I'm a mechanical engineer, and all my life, I've benchmarked automotive industry. What is going on in the automotive industry? Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that is the most competitive, that is the global, that is where we have so many sub-assemblies, thousands of parts coming in from various places. But we have no leftover tires or steering wheels after the production is done.
Mhm.
The washer, that's
Mhm.
planning.
Right.
We're not there yet in our garment industry. If you
Mhm.
look around, I challenge whoever is listening to this. I want every one of you guys to go into your own stock rooms and look at the leftover fabrics, leftover inventory of buttons and zippers and thread and so on. That could have been money in your pocket.
But thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights
I
that
love
reflect.
your organization. Okay. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.